Are you tired of scrolling through endless preset packs and never finding basses that actually sound good in your tracks? The problem is, most producers spend hours tweaking synths, yet their bass lines still sound lifeless. So in this video, I'm gonna share 3 sound design secrets that will make your bass lines stand out from any track. And for each bass line, I'm gonna share a secret cheat code that will transform your basses from basic to mind-blowing, creating that wow effect on your listener. You can download the project plus the presets for free. I'm also going to include my whole library of signature presets like basses, leads, and all that good stuff. So if you want to use that in your production, feel free. The link is in the description. Let's start with the first bass line, and I call it the snake dance bass. So we're gonna go to Serum, and we're gonna open up and use a saw oscillator. So for this bass, that's it. And we want to use MG Low 24. So the basic sound will be this. Have a little bit of sidechain already. The envelope looks like this. If you want to have more sustain, feel free to adjust that. And the main thing for this bass line is going to be a very cool hypnotic LFO movement. So we want to set this to 1/4, and I'm gonna re-enable this. And let's see how that sounds. And we want to find that sweet spot where it's a little bit closed off and it's giving that wow, wow, that deep sound, creating that hypnotic groove. So this already sounds pretty cool with the drums. You can use a little bit of smooth if you want. It changes the sound quite a bit. So I think the sweet spot is around here. The next step to create that snake dance rhythm and feel is going to be filter resonance modulation. I'm using Ableton's stock LFO, and I mapped it to filter 1 resonance. You can see it's moving, and you can play with timing. Mine is set to 3 and 4 here, 3/4. And depending on the groove of the track, you can make it something like this. So I'm gonna go back to 3/4 because I like this rhythm. Let's have a look at the notes here. So this bass line will sound the best if you use very simple melodies like this one. All I have is a little bit of glides. So if we listen here, that's it, right? And to activate the glide, you go to Serum and you set the portamento. So mine is pretty high, so 183. And the next step is automating the filter a little bit so you can create that wow, this kind of feeling. Because otherwise, even though we're using LFO, the bass can be a little bit too static. You can create a really nice movement here. So that's it for the basic sound design. The bass sounds cool, but it's pretty basic and flat. So in the next step, I'm gonna share a sound design cheat code to make it more deep, spacious, and interesting. Okay, here's the cheat code for the first bass line. You can pause the video, take a screenshot, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that in Ableton. For the first step, we will need to use the EQ and the reverb. Feel free to use any reverb that you have. So the room, as you can see here, is pretty short. So 0.62, and let me just solo this. This layer creates a lot of depth and really it's making the baseline feel a bit more wide. You can play with the width, so depending on the settings that you want for your track. So mine is like 33, I think that's the sweet spot. So a little bit of saturation, as you can see, and that's pretty much it. The next step is the dry baseline, or we can just put it at the end. And the last step for this baseline is a little bit of delay. So you can play with timing. Mine is this. Feel free to copy the settings if you want. But it also gives that cool, wide, psychedelic space to the baseline. And once we combine all the 3 layers with the original one, the dry one, the final sound will sound like this. Really cool. And together with the instruments one more time. Even when your bass sounds good, it can often feel static or lifeless. So instead of driving the track, it just sits there. So with the technique I'm about to show, you could add instant movement, grabbing your listener's attention with a unique psychedelic sound design. So let's have a look at the second baseline here. This is the exact same preset as the previous one, so we're not gonna break it down in Serum. The only difference is the filter. So instead of LFO, we are automating the filter manually, and this is where a lot of life and movement comes from for this baseline. So let's jump and see what is happening here. So you can see that I'm using short little bursts on my filter, which create that row, that cool whoop effect. Let's have a look. And the key with this baseline is you want to accentuate the note changes and the octave jump. So you can see we have the main note here, right? And then we have little phrases or variations for the notes. I'll break it down in a second, just so you see the pattern here. Just listen one more time. Row on the key notes. So for this bass line, there's going to be 2 keys. Number 1, we want to use a Phrygian scale. So if you want to use the Phrygian scale, then you can go here and we can do, let's do G and Phrygian dominant. So let's see here, and you can highlight. So you can see I am in the scale besides this note. So I'm just combining different scales, but just try this scale because it's really the key to this darker, clubby, tech house, sometimes melodic techno vibe. And by the way, if you want me to make a full video on how to create cool bassline melodies, just let me know in the comments so I know this is interesting. The next key for this bassline is creating very long glides. So you want to have notes overlapping. Let's check it out here. Creates like wow, this really cool effect. So you want to experiment with that and also try some octave jumps, right? So for example, we can try this. Really cool. Okay, so your bassline has nice dynamics and movement now, but do you want to know the real cheat code to make it stand out from 99% of other basslines? I'm about to show you 2 sound design techniques that will make your basses hit so hard that it almost feels unfair. Here's the first cheat code for this bassline. Again, pause the video, take a screenshot, and we're going to jump to Ableton. So let's get into the juicy part, the pitch bend. So in Serum 2, you want to set this 12 up and 12 down. This gives you a lot of room, so you can do very big pitch bends where you can actually go down or up. So a good example would be here. So you can see at the end of the phrase, I'm creating that cool pitch bend, which creates that nice, squelchy, psychedelic vibe, which I absolutely love. And if you want, you can even test it here, right? So for example, maybe you go like this. Could be nice, again, depends on the melody. This is really cool. I love this. I love this. And all you have to do is just fine tune this so it sounds good with the instruments, with the groove that you have, so you have the right pitch bend, and that's it. The next little trick that you can do with these types of bass lines is automate the portamento or the glide time, because depending on the melody, it can have a very different impact, because sometimes you want to have a more slow glide time and sometimes you want it to be a little bit faster, because that's gonna impact the dynamics of the bass line. So let me show you the original one and then we'll play with that a little bit. And if I change this, really cool. So I would use that as well. It's really nice. Love this, right? And maybe go something like. So now, just by automating the glide time, we have 8 bars of unique bass line. And here's the second cheat code for this bass. Feel free to pause the video and take a screenshot. The next cheat code will absolutely blow your mind. So we want to start with the space here. I'm just gonna use the same rack as from the first bass line because it just sounds good on these sustained bass lines. So this is how it's gonna sound. Already it's gonna be really cool. I love the delay, but if you want, you can just keep the reverb and that's it. Not bad, so up to you how you want to do it. And the next step is going to be resampling the original bass line. So the way you want to do it is disable everything that you have and the sidechain as well, right? So we can freeze that, and after you freeze, you just bounce that to audio. And now let's get into the juicy part here. So it's going to be actually quite a lot that I did to this bass line, but let me show you. So first step is making sure that we cut all the low frequencies. We don't want this to mess with the original bass line. So let's see. So it sounds a little bit messy because we don't have the processing. The next step is adding that psychedelic movement with multiple filters playing at the same time. So I'm using Fab Filter Volcano 3 and it is amazing. This is a custom preset. And the key here is I'm using multiple filters. So some of them are side and some of them are mid. So there's like stereo and mono moving at the same time, which is creating that nice psychedelic feel. So if you download the project, you're gonna get the preset. Pretty cool. Then we want to do a little bit of side chaining. And then a little bit of spatial processing. I'm using SoundToy's new plugin called Space Blender. Oh my god, it is so amazing. Just check it out. So now it becomes a really nice psychedelic FX layer. And finally, we want to use Echo Boy, or you can use any delay here. We can adjust the EQ a little bit. So obviously this is not like fully mixed, but once you fine tune all the frequencies, all the filter automation, it's gonna sound truly amazing. So now in the mix, see here, with everything that we have. Okay, so you learned how to add dip and movement to your bass lines, but trust me, you haven't seen sound design like this third one. We are blending different types of bass lines to create a groove that feels absolutely hypnotic. What if you could take completely different sounds and turn them into one killer bass line? This third type of bass line is using one secret element that you never thought about using, so let me show you. And let's have a look at the final bass line here. So we're gonna start with a classic plucky tet house bass. Not gonna break down the sound design because you can download the presets, but it can be a saw, can be a square. I thought square would be a little bit better. Let's see how that sounds with a kick. And let's go to the next step, and this is really when the magic starts to happen. So what you want to use is some sort of big drums. It could be industrial drums. You can download stuff from Splice. It's going to be in audio. I'm actually using MIDI here. And the key here is to combine different types of bass lines like this percussive one to create that call and response, like interaction, like a dialogue. So let me show you what I mean. Right, so this is the phrase, and once we play that with the bass line, so it's almost like we are fusing them together and they create a very unique groove. One important thing about this is you don't want to have a lot of overlapping, so there's a little bit, which I do have here, but generally you want to space it out because otherwise it's just going to clash, so there's no sense in doing that. So after you create that nice percussive pattern, then you can play with the plucky bass line, because the rhythm could be really anything as long as it sounds good, right? So we have the foundation. It's already pretty cool with the drums, it's amazing. Tribal, percussive, industrial vibe. But it's a little bit empty. So what we want to do next is combine the bass lines from the previous examples. So we're going to use that sustained bass line to create like wow, a really cool fill, which sounds psychedelic, and I love that. Wow. I love this shit so much. Like, these are my favorite bass lines. And you want to find the spots where you can use those fills to make it more interesting, right? And another example would be at the end. So you can see there's a pattern. I'm actually using that at the end of the second bars here, and again at the end of the second bars here, and that's really it, right? So you don't want to make it too complicated. And that's it for the basic sound design here. So once you find a pattern, it really starts to create that nice hypnotic groove. And I feel like those types of bass lines are very unique. And again, I honestly haven't seen anyone teaching that on YouTube. So again, I hope that this is something new for you as well. Here's a cheat code for the third bass line. Pause the video, take a screenshot, and let's jump to Ableton. But this is not everything, because I didn't show you the magic that I did to the percussive bass line. Because if you listen to the original sound, it is kind of boring. Like, it's cool, but it's just way too neutral. It is way too clean for an electronic track. So the first step is going to be applying a little bit of FX distortion. I don't know what this thing does, but it just makes the drums sound more deep, and it gives a little bit of this phasery like effect. You don't have to use this plugin. I'm pretty sure you can play a little bit with saturation, distortion with Fat Filter or with Ableton stock effects. But if you have this plugin, then it's great, right? Then a little bit of compression just to glue stuff and make it more balanced. And then we can apply a little bit of phaser, again, to create that psychedelic depth and movement. Check it out. I'm gonna increase that a little bit. Of course, this is a little bit too much, so we want to keep it subtle. It's pretty cool, right? Just a little bit. And then a little bit of delay. And here the magic trick is, if we're using 1/8, it almost gives that slap back like double. Check it out. And that glues the whole groove together a lot. The next step is a subtle EQ cut. So I'm cutting around 90 Hertz just to make sure that my sub part of the drums is centered, and it's okay to have a little bit of stereo above like 90, 100. It's not gonna mess the bass too much. Then one more additional thing is a volcano. You can use Ableton standard filter just to control the brightness. Maybe if you are doing the intro or some sort of transition, just gives you like so for example, if you're doing the intro, it could be a really nice way to add movement and transition between different sections of the track. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this bass line, and let's listen to the whole thing one more time so you can enjoy the groove with me. Key takeaway: experiment with different layers and bass patterns. You can create a cool sustained bass like I showed in the previous examples and combine that with those big drum hits. Same for the plug-in bass. Just test and see what works best. A great bass line is key, but there's one more crucial element that you need to make professional sounding tracks. It's the drums that make people dance and move to your music. In my next video here, I'm gonna teach you how to become a master at tech house drums in only 20 minutes using 2 secret techniques that you never thought about using. Check it out here.